Um, I think before we start off, I know introduction hoyechilo, but what I'm going to ask my panelists to do is just say one word about, or not one word, just a small sentence about who you are, what you do. And I think to take Zishan's quiz forward, tell me something very interesting about you that I don't know. Kawser, putting you on the spot.
One more time, to say something about him?
You have to introduce yourself.
Okay.
আর একটা কিছু বলতে হবে যেটা আমরা ইন্টারেস্টিং কিছু so that I can win the prize that Kingshok is giving out.
ওনার ব্যাপারে
তোমার ব্যাপারে
আমি ভাবছি ওনার ব্যাপারে Okay. Small introduction. I'm Kawser Jamal. I live in California. I work for City of Seneca Police as an IT manager in public safety, and also I run my own IT consulting company. Very connected with Bangladesh. I feel for Bangladesh and I love Bangladesh. That's why I'm here. And somehow we have worked in previously with Shariful Bhai. And what interesting thing you want to know about me?
Tell us something that interesting about you.
We are cricket fan, cricketer pagol. Amra Bay Area te jeo cricket BPL tournament diyechi ebong khelechi ebong champion hoyechi. So that's a funny thing for us.
Okay, cricket champion. Tousif.
Hello, my name is Tousif Ishtiaque. I'm a project leader with the Boston Consulting Group in Malaysia. I've been there for the last 2.5 years. Before that, I spent most of my time in Bangladesh working in the banking sector, and before that, I did my undergrad from IBA here. Something interesting about myself is I was always a very avid sports fan, similar to Kawser bhai, but I am more of the football style, so I play futsal every Friday night, and we have a small futsal team of Bangladeshis in KL who play different corporates in KL, and we've beaten most of them. So that's a good branding for the NRBs that we have there.
I have my. So hello everybody, my name is Minhaz Anwar, and I've got several hats like probably some of you. So primarily I run a company called BetterStories. So we try to tell better stories of Bangladesh, particularly of the young people who are trying to get started with a business in most of the cases and grow. So that's me. Interesting fact, last year we were traveling in a bus, in a red bus, throughout Bangladesh. So maybe we can talk about it more.
I'm very positive that's going to be the first question. Tina.
Hello everybody, I'm Tina Jabeen. I'm the investment advisor with ICT Ministry. Interesting thing, duta. One is, I kind of came back to Bangladesh after living in Silicon Valley for 30 years because my dream was to give back to the country, and I'm living that dream, so I'm very fortunate. And the second thing is, when I go back to Silicon Valley, probably, a couple of times during the year, I love hiking, and I do extreme hikes, so which is about, 10,000 feet hikes in about 19 hours. So, that's kind of a little bit different than usual way our expats, especially female expats, spend their time.
My name is Farhan. I am the CEO of Colors FM, which is a feminist radio station. We're trying to take the gender equality movement forward. I think I'm not quite sure why I'm in an NRB a conclave, except for I guess because I'm a because I'm the Sileti in the panel. I think we automatically become NRBs. But that interesting thing about me, I think, is the biryani. I mean, but that anybody who knows me knows by now that biryani would be something that I sort of specialize in. Not making them, but eating it. Unfortunately, don't like cricket, don't like football, can't hike. So I'm going to start with Minhaz bhai. Red bus all over Bangladesh. Apnar shop division e gechen. And I joined you in one of those CAs in matter of Accelerator. It was fascinating by how grassroots people, entrepreneurs who came up and were coming up with innovative solution. So I think one of the key focuses of this forum, of our Bangladesh Brand Forum, is to take the innovation thinking, the mindset outside Dhaka, and make it just not incubator, but make it more prevalent in it. So, apnar experience ta ki? Is there a basis for that? is there potential for this to happen?
Since I'm a storyteller, maybe I should share my story a little bit. So back in the year 2013, we were actually forced out of the building that we were working from as BetterStories. We had a little bit of incubator, one of the first ones to have in Dhaka. So primarily because there was nobody, no users. We spent a lot of money, like all my savings were gone by that time. And it was almost like 4 years into it, and you came to that place once, I know. But one thing was not there. So no matter how much we had as infrastructure, there was no community. So there was no user. There was no understanding, what it can do for people. So, and that forced us to get out of our building and try something very different. So trying to understand, what people are exactly looking for. Are they really interested in entrepreneurship or startup? Are there really people passionate about it? Are there really people who can potentially, come and work as mentors or even investors, right? So we actually started having the building before having those elements in place. So in the year 2014, we tried out in Dhaka and built several different outreach events, inviting very different, diverse group of people. And there were about 800 unique people attending 8 events. And what we realized, there is a very strong community, just that they were not connected. And based on the experience of Startup Cup in 2014 in Dhaka, which is very nominal scale, by the way, and likes of you and other people who came on board, just you guys wanted to support, right? And there was not a lot of money involved in it. It was like credit cards punched and our own savings and those kind of things. But what gave us the conviction that, if we can put our minds together, there will be takers and it will happen. So things happened in Dhaka in 2014, and in the subsequent years, like in 2015, things like Founder Institute came into being, Grameenphone Accelerator came into being, Spark Bangladesh came into being. All of that could have not been made possible if things didn't happen before. We realized quickly, Dhaka has been having a lot of this. By the year 2017, almost nothing outside of Dhaka. So we thought, what is out there? Is there anything at all? And like we did the same mistake in Dhaka, we assumed that there is nothing outside beyond Dhaka. So that's the time when we boarded on the bus and traveled to all over the country, and particularly went to headquarters of most of the divisions. And what we realized, I think it was the same picture. There were elements, there were willing people who wanted to build their dreams and support the people who were building their dreams. And I can tell you, there is one girl from Mymensingh, for example. So her name is Romana, and she makes low-cost sanitary napkin. Maybe by now, there are a lot of those people in Bangladesh and many other parts of the world. But why I talk about her is because she's just about 22 years old, but back then, 3 years ago when she started, she was barely 19. And apart from her family members, everybody in the community were opposing her getting started with sanitary napkin business. She set it up within her house, wanted to celebrate it a little bit by putting up a signboard outside. It was very, it's not something that we see here in Dhaka. It was handwritten and very little signboard. But you know what? The community came and burnt it down, the signboard. But it didn't manage to burn down her passion. She did continue it. And a couple of months ago, when we were trying to understand her business a bit better to support her, it was floods, and she had to move her factory from her house to a school. And she's doing, good. And she wants to grow beyond Jamalpur. She wants to grow all over the country. And she needs not a lot of money. She needs maybe a couple of crores taka and a little bit of mentoring. And I think, we collectively, as a community of people, we definitely have that. And it gives me a lot of confidence and conviction. And I know that there are a lot of people in the room and beyond who, if they know Romana and if Romana knows them, there can be a lot happening in the, in the next few years.
Right. I mean, before we get into, let's say, how NRBs could help Romana, maybe if I can ask Tina, that you've spent a huge part of your life in Silicon Valley, right? And Silicon Valley is also a place where people in their backyards and their garages, like Romana, figured out something and sort of invented things, put things together. But there was an ecosystem, and what I think Minhaz is trying to get at is that there was an ecosystem. So how do they do it in Silicon Valley, and is that something that we need to replicate, or what are the key learnings we can get from there?
Thank you. One of the things that I think very unique in the Valley is, the universities. So we have Stanford University, and then we have Berkeley. So 2 innovation hubs, right? So that played a huge role in what we see today. And even here, although we have only 30-some attendants, out of that, we have 3 from the Valley. So about 10% of the current audience, they're both Kawser and, over there we have Sarwar, is from the Valley. So my point is that we had, 2 very strong, research-focused universities which fueled the entrepreneurship and the culture in the Valley. So the parents who were there, they're very used to seeing in the schools all these labs that the teachers are putting their kids in. So they're very kind of mentally, they're programmed, or they know they're very welcoming to let their children try new things. Because once you have a success story, that's like a precedent, right? And so then the teachers and the parents, which is very important, and I'll make a comment on that, very important that they're very welcoming, that the teachers are letting my kids just do his thing, do all these silly projects, silly research. So I don't think that we should try to replicate the Valley. I think the learning is what we need to do to change the culture, the mindset. It's a cultural shift, it's a mindset shift. That when my kid who graduated from Buet and comes and says, I don't want to work. I want to turn out this civil service job that I got, and I want to go and try something new, how to filter water in a more efficient way. I don't know, just make up something. So, the parents should be like, oh wow, yes, do that. Okay, it's a change of mindset. So I think that for us, like Minhaz did, right? You went to all these regions and did your bus tour. We need to do those more, and then we have to start from the grounds up. When we are having kids going to first grade, we will have programs, we will have teachers who will go and tell their parents that it's okay for your child to try out something new.
That's sort of like an overhaul of the education system itself to change the mindset?
I think that not just the education system, it is, of course, the education system, because, we have the primary education up to 5th grade, I think, here. So we need to have more of a creative thinking curriculums kind of incorporated in our education system. So that's obviously a larger project. On top of that, probably the corporations, which we have lots of, I saw lots of very successful corporations, they can fund some labs, some research labs. And, from the beginning, like from class 1, 2, 3, whatever. And we can have, people like Minhaz and BetterStories get funded from the corporations and go there, right? Go to these schools and, schools, especially in the primary schools, and encourage them. And kind of, because I think one of the limitation is the children, they're not encouraged to think freely. So we have to kind of start that culture.
I think, Kawser, if I can get you to jump in, I mean, you work for Santa Clara government, right? And I mean, that's as the government in middle of this very innovative sort of space. What can, let's say, the city government or the county government and sort of regional governments do to encourage this innovation, this change in mindset that we're talking about? Because getting education curriculum to change it's a long-term thing, right?
Right.
But what can we do short-term to get this going?
I mean, we all have heard the word STEM, right? STEM education. So I mean, if you say about the Valley, the education system, how that is, it's about innovation, it's about research, it's not about memorization, I'm sorry. I mean, amra ekhane dekhi on it, right? So kids do what Tina was saying, doing projects. Projects to do nothing is something. Our project is all related to take marks, right? Or get a grade. So if you say about educational reformation has to happen in this country called Bangladesh, যেটা আমাদের সবার প্রিয় country, we need educational reformation in this country. Nobody does research on education. This is a big deal.
Research on education?
On education.
Okay.
Research and development. She's talking about research. I'm talking about research and development on education.
Right.
How to teach, not what to teach. We all know what to teach. We all know what to teach, but how to teach the students, how to teach the young kids, how to teach the parents, the mindset that Tina was talking about. Very important. So in the Valley, they let you do that. I mean, you know, you go in different route, you discuss. Things are open. Our one is closed, so we have to open the box.
I'm going to get Minhaz to be provocative here. You went around, right? And you've seen all this, I would presume, innovative people, right? In this education system that's not working, you know, how are they being innovative? Or what are they doing to be innovative?
I think necessity is the mother of invention, right? So a lot of Bangladeshi entrepreneurs, you know, they're not necessarily working in the, you know, field of blockchain or artificial intelligence, right? They're making sanitary napkins. They're providing safe drinking water. And I think, you know, as much as I work in the startup scene, I see there is a huge disconnect as well. You know, on one hand side, we're talking about breathtakingly new emerging concepts. At the same time, we're ignoring, you know, the vast majority that is not yet even enjoying connectivity as such. So I think despite what's happening, I came across a couple from Jessore called I Am Team Bangladesh, I Am Team BD. They actually also subsequently won on Startup Bangladesh stage. So one couple, barely 20, 22 years old, they're one of the highest earning freelancers of Bangladesh, sitting from Jessore. And they have 16 people employed under them. I was amazed. I mean, I have seen a lot of freelancers in Dhaka complaining about lack of electricity, lack of internet connection, or, you know, the price for it or whatnot. And this team from Jessore is making it. But the sad part is, you know, there is only probably 1 or 2 or 3 I Am Team BD. There are not many. And the other thing that I wanted to contribute to this conversation is, in places where there is an university, we actually saw a connection. So the entrepreneurs who are doing really good may not necessarily are university educated, but in cases where there are good universities, entrepreneurial universities, we saw a correlation. I mean, it was not scientific, but we saw a positive connection. So I would say universities, education matters, definitely. But despite, you know, those things not being there, people are making a stride, but definitely we need to do more.
Earlier we were talking, Tousif, about continuous learning, right? Would you want to jump in?
Sure. So basically what I'd like to do is add a little bit to what Kawser bhai has mentioned. Because having gone through the education system in Bangladesh myself, I went through the entire Bangla medium schools, then college, and then I went to an undergrad here in Bangladesh as well. What I have seen is that we learn a lot of things, and we are given a lot of books to learn, memorize a lot of stuff. So our capacity to learn is good, but what does not happen too much is we're not encouraged to keep on learning as we go along. What I have seen in other countries after going outside Bangladesh is that they teach you how to learn. So during my MBA, this is something which I learned quite a lot, that they taught me how to learn new things. It's not about just gaining knowledge, it's about how to keep on gaining knowledge as you go along, because the world is not standing still. Every 5 years, whatever you learn today is going to become obsolete. So how do you keep on learning, how do you stay relevant, and how do you build for the future is something which the education system needs to reform too.
Well, Kawser, yeah.
So we do bachelor's in US is how to learn. Okay,
Right.
that's what the concept of 4 years college, and then in master's, what to learn. So
Right.
add
So
it up.
If I can and stay with you, I think we've agreed that there's a need to be a mindset change in getting education and sort of reform happening. How would NRBs, let's say, in Silicon Valley, we've already got so many Silicon Valley people here, but how could, let's say, NRBs in Silicon Valley contribute to this change that needs to happen?
I mean, definitely. I mean, a franchise has been a successful model in global world. Okay, what is franchise? McDonald's works nicely in one place. They replicate, and they customize to the region, right? So education is something like that. To me, that's what I see. How NRB can contribute, definitely. So what Tina, I would say the same thing, concur her, that there are diverse people called NRB, Non Resident Bangladeshis, across the world, not only US, and US is not only the educational hub, okay? There are UK, Canada, Australia, all these NRBs are there, okay? If we can pull their resource, I mean, knowledge remittance we are talking about, we only want money from NRBs. I'm sorry, it's about time that you have to ask other things. NRBs should contribute in education, in research, in other areas. So when it comes to education, I mean, we have Stanford, I mean, we have Bangladeshi professors, Harvard, you call about Berkeley, any of those.
So how would we sort of connect up with Bangladeshi professor, Silicon Valley, Stanford?
So we are in technology field. We have something that we are trying to do. It's called NRB Innovation Hub, where we're going to bring domain-wise education, healthcare, entrepreneurship, science, technology. We're going to bring the leaders together. Leaders means not like, I'm talking about the industry leaders who are leading in this sector as a Bangladeshi, and they have something to contribute to this country, because at the end of the day, we all had our green passport to go to get the other passport in US. Okay, there is a respect. People are good, they want to give back, and as I've been in Valley, trust me on that, and Tina is here, other people they want to contribute, but there's no bridge, there is no infrastructure. A lot of time we burn our bridges and we don't take the next shout, right? So I was just talking to Saad Andalib. I mean, he's the VC, if I'm not wrong, in BRAC, right? Saad Andalib, we worked with him from last 15 years when he was in US. We have organization where we do all this development work. So that's a good contact. So I was saying the same thing, like how we can bring the pool. But the back end, we need support from Bangladesh. The government has to support. The private institution has to support. And you need local, strong leadership in the US ground or UK ground or Australia. So I'm going to say what I can do. I'm going to take a strong lead in NRBs for Silicon Valley. I can do that. I don't need anybody.
Right.
I don't need nobody. I'm enough to do that. And I'll do it. I'm honestly going to do it, and that's what we're talking about.
Keep you to that word.
Innovation Hub, we'll do it.
I mean, Tousif, your
that's what I'm going to do.
No, I'm positive that a lot of people will be
And
following
you know me. I mean, what I say, I do.
Yeah. Tousif, your daytime job is to take Bangladeshi companies global, right? To find investments to come into Bangladesh. When you're going out, or I'm not sure which stage you're in, when you're going out, what is the impression? I mean, is Bangladesh being in the radar, and would we be able to get this working?
Yeah, so just to mention what I'm working on right now. So I'm working with the ICT Ministry of Bangladesh, the ICT division technically, of Bangladesh to bring in foreign investment, which is bringing in big, giant global IT firms into the country and grow their footprint. Now, one way of doing that, which we have identified right at the beginning of the project, was to tap into the diaspora, to talk to non-resident Bangladeshis and see if a lot of them are very influential. Will they be willing to invest into the country? Now, the feedback that I received from a lot of the NRBs that we reached out to was that they've kind of thought about it before. Some of them have tried it as well. The experience that they've gone through has not always been the best. They feel the policies are there. This is something which was touched upon in the morning sessions as well, that we have good enabling policies by the government, Now, the experience that everyone goes through, or the service delivery that happens from the different institutions, is not at the level where the policies are designed at. So a lot of them have gone through experiences which are not the best. So hence, that's a key area where we need to kind of brush up a little bit and make sure that we have the right institutions, the right processes in place to enable these investors to come into the country and invest. Because a lot of them are very passionate about doing it, similar to Kawser, similar to Tina, who have done it from coming from the valley. So a lot of them are very passionate about doing it, but they don't see the right support structure in place which can enable them to do it.
Unfortunately, I wasn't here in the morning, so I'm sure Sharif must have mentioned it. One of the things Brandforum does is it has set up innovation centers in eight divisional sort of towns, or in divisions itself, and trying to sort of generate innovations and activities in that. So NRBs here, whoever's here, should be able to come in, connect up with Bangladesh Brandforum to take that forward. With that, Tina had certain ideas about having a portal. If you could sort of...
So the portal, it kind of goes hand in hand with what Kawser was saying. So we did a soft launch of Startup Bangladesh back in Silicon Valley in March. And we had about 125 selected guests who are extremely successful expats in the Valley. And they showed interest not just in financial funding, but also to provide their expertise in mentoring form. So I don't know if everybody knows that Startup Bangladesh is basically a VC fund, which is investing in startups based in Bangladesh. And we have an accelerator where these startups are going to be admitted, and then they would need a lot of mentoring in their subject matters. So, and our Silicon Valley friends and globally, they showed a lot of interest to support and provide their expertise as a mentor, pro bono basis. So a portal would be really nice, right? And probably, we can work together with Kawser, and obviously, the ministry can help. And, that's how we can at least start the process.
We have a plan to do that in March.
Right. I'm sorry, there's somebody here showing us signs on that we're running out of time. Is there any questions out there? Could we have a mic up front? Is anybody left in the room? We could go on for ages on this topic.
Thank you. I'm Arif, working for IDLC Finance. I have a specific question to Tina. Can you elaborate that under IDEA project, how can you help the startup entrepreneurs in different stages? How they can get money from your project? What is the process?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Khan. So I'll just give a very brief overview of the project. And so, like I said, it's about a $34 million fund, government fund, and it's going to be run exactly as a venture capital fund. We are going to invest in 5 types of investments. So the first one is going to be idea stage, which is kind of a grant. We will provide grants for it. And then the next stage is going to be a VC type of investment, seed, late seed, and growth. And then we have the targeted investment. So the targeted investment is basically, any type of investment that we think is important for our national goals. It can be, proper sanitations, or it can be, reducing air pollutions. Then we have the co-investments. Co-investments are more like investing in growth companies, where these companies already they have outside investors, but they want to scale up. So we'll be going in as a partner. And we also have the strategic partnerships, and that's where this concept that we were talking about, the R&Ds and all the working with the universities and the schools. So strategic partnerships is basically Startup Bangladesh is going to work with the universities, going to regional universities, working with universities like UC Berkeley. We actually have a MOU on it with UC Berkeley, working in bioengineering. And then the selection process, we do have a website. It's startupbangladesh.bd .gov, and you can apply. We have the policy guideline there. It's a very transparent and kind of a rigid selection process. And then basically once you get selected, just like a regular VC funding, you get the funding, you have to achieve certain milestones to get further fundings, and that's how we are planning to do this. So it's about 4 months old, and we have funded about 37 idea stage companies.
Well, that's impressive. 37 in 4 months is really impressive.
Yeah, we just did it. We announced the awards during Digital World.
Okay, excellent. I see time's up. So if there's no further question, would anybody want to add anything else?
No, I think Sharful had, one of the session was how to take this to other 8 divisions.
Right.
I think we didn't want to skip that. So I'll just work with Minhaz on that, what he was saying, that less franchise model is the best. Let's make it better in Dhaka and take it to Chittagong, take it to Rajshahi, take it to Jashore, take it to Comilla. But our Dhaka institution, our Dhaka innovation has to be strong enough, okay? You have to create success stories. If we don't create success stories, nobody gonna follow us. I'm sorry, that's the only thing I would put on. Let's create some success story. Let's put some hard work. Let's put some passion into it, what you do. Whatever trade you are involved in, however we are. So that will be the key thing that we can take from here. Let's have a success story there, and then we all can't do everything, right? We'll do our things. So each of us, if we do it perfectly, we will have a perfect ecosystem. At the end of the day, what Sharful was saying, we have to build an ecosystem. Entrepreneurship is about ecosystem. Nobody has done it alone. So let's build the ecosystem together.
Agreed. With that note, we're doing this ecosystem together. Yes. With that note, Kawser, Tousif, Minhaz, Tina, thank you very much. Thank you for listening to us. It's been a long day.